Yeah, like search page was done, right? Like
Business
and
region work.
yeah, yeah, this was our search page, right? Okay. So now what we do is like we'll try to discuss about LOV and pop list, okay? Because now we understand how do we create a Vivo and how we need to execute it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then we are good to go to like how do we create LOV and the pop list, okay? So like LOV and pop list. So LOV nothing but list of values. So whenever we want to create any LOV, it requires a query. I mean to say it requires a Vivo and the Vivo requires a query. This is how the LOV is built in. So
Okay,
if at
sure.
all, if you want to represent a list of value component in the OAF page, you have to have a Vivo query which should be assigned to the LOV. Then only it will work. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So first of all, let us write a query and then we'll attach the query to the Vivo and then that's how we'll try to display the LOV in the page. Okay.
Okay.
So maybe let us say we'll try to use a simple one, HR operating units. And so we require organization ID, organization name, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
business group ID. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is our query now. So like for the LOV also we have to follow a package structure. Like it should be LOV to server,
Okay.
CNSI,
Yeah.
CNSI org labs, fnd dot LOV dot server. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So just right click at the project level, click on new ADF business. Sorry, yeah, ADF business component. Click on view object. Click on next. Now here we just need to change the package structure. fnd LOV server, HR operating units, LOV Vivo. So and even the naming convention, the suffix we generally prefer to have LOV Vivo. And this package structure fnd LOV server. And this read-only access, click on next. Now mention the query and click on next. It will validate the query, next, and finish. Okay.
Okay.
So now we got one more package structure now, fnd LOV server.
Okay. Yeah.
Now we need to assign the Vivo to the AM, apply, and OK. Okay. Now in the web
Yeah.
UI, let's design the page. New OA components page, LOV sample page. Okay. So now we need to
Mm.
set the default properties. So see here, it is showing these particular AMs twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Generally, it's a
Yeah.
bug actually. It's a bug because
Oh,
of course we have
okay.
two AMs, but the two AMs are getting repeated here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Right? So yeah, these things happens. In the main region, we'll just create a new region, and this is
Mm-hmm.
of type header region.
Okay.
Okay. This header region is only for the UI purpose, not exactly required. So
Okay.
under the header region, we'll create a new item. LOV is an item actually. LOV is not a region. LOV is an item. Okay. So
Yeah.
under the header region, we'll create a new item, and we'll change this item style to message LOV input. So if
Okay.
you want to represent LOV, we have to use this particular item style, message LOV input. So once we
Okay.
change this item style to LOV input, automatically it will create some particular sub regions under it. This item will have some sub regions also. Generally, the concept
Okay.
is a, you have a see, item is a what you say independent component. A region will have a set of items generally. That is a normal convention. But for the LOV, the thing is, even though it is an item, it will have some regions under it. This is quite
Mm.
separate or special thing.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is our LOV item. Okay. And once we change this item to LOV, automatically it will create two regions under it. One is, I mean, I don't say it's a region or maybe a dependent components or something. So it'll have two
Okay.
regions or maybe dependent component. One is region one here and another one is LOV mapping. Okay. So first of all, change the item ID here. In our case, we'll just change it to org LOV ID.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, sorry, org name LOV ID. Okay. And now just mention the prompt here. We does not need to mention any view instance, view attribute as of now. Okay. Just mention only organization name. Now see, generally, like if you're not aware how exactly LOV looks like, it's like, text input. You'll have just text input followed by a torch icon. When you click on a torch icon, it will show a pop-up. In the pop-up, it will show a table region. So now this particular one is our text input box and torch icon. And once you click on torch icon, it will open a pop-up. So that particular region, now we are creating it. That particular
Okay.
region we are creating it. So this region is
Okay.
generally always a table region. So we just need to
Okay.
perform right click on this one, create a table region using a wizard. You don't even have any other option. We simply have to create table region only.
Okay.
Table region using a wizard. Now here we have to select our AM,
Mm-hmm.
select the Vivo.
Okay.
Now by default it is table only. We'll go with the default, select the columns, next. And but here if you observe, it shows message style text. If you remember earlier case, always it was showing message text input. We used to change it.
Yeah.
But here I am not sure why they have this advantage in the LOV. Only in the LOV region it shows all the things as message style text.
Text. Okay.
Next and finish. Okay, now we have these three items under the this particular region. This is a list of
Okay.
values region. And one
Mm-hmm.
more thing what we have is mapping. So what is this mapping is all about is, see, generally like in the pop-up, once you select a particular value, that value has to be written to this particular component, our organization name LOV ID. So now what we do is
Mm-hmm.
we'll create a mapping between this table region and our LOV component. So click on
Okay.
LOV map, and now what is our LOV region item? So which value we want to return from the table region? We would like to get the organization name. This value has
Mm.
to be written to our LOV our like LOV component, organization name LOV ID.
Okay.
Return item, criteria item also mention the same thing. So criteria item means, like, let us say before clicking on a pop-up, you would like to, like you just mention a search criteria and you just click on pop-up and you just click on this particular, what you say, the torch icon, automatically it will
Mm-hmm.
filter the data based on what you mentioned in this particular, like a message LOV input item.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And also one more property, click on the LOV item, make sure the search allowed property is to true.
Okay.
And also for this one also, in the organization name, we have to mention search allowed property as true.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's run the page. So there is no controller required as of now because underlying Vivo which is assigned to the LOV will get executed automatically. This one another exception.
Okay.
So generally the expectation is,
Because.
like whenever you have any Vivo, that should be executed explicitly. But for the
Yeah.
LOV, that will be executed implicitly.
Okay. So still, can we base our LOV query based on an existing value set or something like that?
Yeah, of course, right?
So.
I'll tell you one thing. See, it can be on any component. It just requires a query.
Okay.
If you say value set, if it is a table type value set, it will not work, right? Because in the table type value set, you will not have the query ready made.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If it is a normal like independent value set or maybe a lookup, yes, you can have it.
Again, it's in the form of a query only, right? There is no other
Yes.
shortcut there.
No,
Okay.
there is no other shortcut. We have to have a
Okay.
query for this one.
Okay.
Okay. So now this is how it looks like. Just click on this particular torch icon. It shows a pop-up. Now here, if you observe, it shows search by only organization name. The reason is we have allowed search by only for organization name. So that's the
Okay.
reason you have only one option. Let's click on go. Now, whatever the value you select, let us say if I select this one, either you can click on quick select or you can
Mm-hmm.
select a that particular record and click on select button. Either way it will work. Now let us say,
Yeah.
so let us say I'll select progress FR. Progress FR.
Okay.
Just quick select here,
Mhm.
and this progress FR will come here. And
Okay.
otherwise, let us say I'll type the name, and now just click on this button and see what will happen. It will display the data based on the criteria what we mentioned.
Okay.
So that's how it
All
works.
right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now other thing is, let us say now we have vision ADB, but some, like there are chances that, like, whenever you select any value from the LOV, there's a chance you want to show some extra value from the LOV. I mean to say, like, related values need to be shown also sometimes, right? You'll have some kind of
Okay.
requirements. Something like, let us say, I'll tell you one example. In the expenses page, whenever you select a project name, you have to show project number beside it. Project will
Okay.
have a project ID, project name, and project number also. So whenever you select
Okay.
project name, project number to be shown beside it. So we'll try to
Okay.
implement the same way now. So in our case, this LOV was having 3 columns, right? Like, let us say in our case, whenever we select organization name, we'd like to display business group ID. Assume that that is our
Okay.
requirement. Okay.
Okay.
So how do we do it? See, like, we just require one more message style text item. Click on new item and change the item style to message style text, and change
Okay.
the item ID to, I'll just say, BGID, BG message text ID.
Okay.
Visual prompt, business group ID.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now in this one, everything lies in the mapping now. Create a new mapping. Now what is the LOV region item? It's a business group ID. This has to be written to which item you want to return to. That is BGMSG ID.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
now,
Yeah.
yeah, let's run it. I'll say vision operations. Correct.
No. Yeah.
Let's say
Go to.
Vision Australia. Business group ID is 1646.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So now other thing is, like, first basic thing is LOV. The underlying VO will get executed automatically, and we can also get extra values from the LOV. And if at all, let us say, sometimes what may happen is you may require a search criteria need to be enabled on org ID also. I mean to say, like,
Okay.
let us say you have some extra columns, you want to have search criteria on multiple stuff. Yes, that is also possible. The only thing you have to
Okay.
change is in the table region, just make sure that search allowed property is to true. That's it. Now let us say on the
Okay.
organization ID, I'll make the search allowed as true. Okay.
Okay.
Now other thing is, like, here, now sometimes what may happen is you may have a requirement, you want to perform some business logic when a user selects a LOB value, right? Or maybe you want to execute some other functionality once user has selected the LOB. So now
Okay.
we require to have a controller, right? So on the main region, let's create a controller to handle the LOB event.
Okay.
Okay. Now what is our LOB name? This is LOB name, and handling of LOB is again a quite different one. Okay, this is not similar to the pop list or maybe other things, like, earlier we have discussed about event and button stuff, right? But this is quite different again here. Okay,
Okay.
so the concept is, first of all, we have a method called isLOB event.
Mhm.
If page context dot isLOB event, okay, it means that if user has clicked on any of the LOB, but how do you know
Okay.
which LOB? So for that one, we require one more method that is called LOB source ID. So this particular method, page context dot get LOB input source ID, will return you the item ID of the LOB. See, every component will have an ID, isn't it? So this
Mm-hmm.
page context dot get LOV input source ID will return the LOV ID, nothing but the item ID of the component. And if this particular ID is equal to our LOV ID, then it means that user has clicked on the LOV.
Okay.
Okay, so this is how we can validate whether user has clicked on the LOV or not.
Okay.
Okay. Another thing is, now we want to retrieve a value. Assume that like you want to retrieve a value from the LOV component and you want to pass that to some other logic. But how do we retrieve? So generally in the OAF page, every graphical component, or maybe I can say every UI component, whatever we have in the page, you will have a wrapper API. You will have a Java API for it. Nothing but, let us say, for this header region or for this LOV component or message style text component, for every component you'll have a wrapper API. And the name starts with OA. The name starts with OA. So the general guideline is always, like you also have some different ways of getting a value, but it is preferably always use the appropriate API of that particular component to get the value or to set the value. So in our case, our component name is message LOV input, isn't it? Our component name is message LOV input. So the wrapper API for that one will start with OA, followed by message LOV input, and then followed by bean. Can you see? OA message LOV
Mm-hmm.
input bean. That's it. So this is what we have
Okay.
to use it. Okay. Now what we require is, one more thing is like now we want to get a value from the LOV input. We want to get a value from our LOV component. So to get a value from LOV component, we just required the bean instance. So whatever the beans, we generally call them as beans. The reason why we call them as Java beans, because a Java bean is nothing but a graphical object, a graphical component, which will have
Okay.
an object instance which is available in the program, so that you can modify whatever you want to do it. Either you can retrieve the values as well as you can modify the values from it.
Okay.
That is a Java bean. Okay. Now what I will do is, so we are all, you see, like if you observe here, now I'm trying to validate the process form request. If you're doing some coding in the process form request, it means that you already have a graphical object which is already available in the page, isn't it? Because we have the object instance created for this component, that is the reason it is showing in the page. If you don't have the object instance, nothing but no memory is allocated for it. If no memory is allocated for it, you can't see the component in the page, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
So we are able to see the component in the page because we have the memory allocated by the a framework or application server. That is the reason we are able to see it. Now we want to handle the component in the PFR method, nothing but during the event. So what we do is, we could handle the event using this particular two if conditions, but now we want to get a value from it. So how do we get the value is, like, first of all, I have to know the object of it. I have to know the LOV object. How do we do it is, like, we have one particular thing called webbean dot
Mm.
find index tail recursive. This particular webbean is a parent bean object which will have the object instances of all the components in the page.
Okay.
So webbean dot find index tail recursive, and we have to pass the appropriate, the ID of the component, and this will return you the appropriate object instance. This will return you
Okay.
the object instance. Now once you have the object instance which is assigned to our object name, object variable, then what you can do, we can get a value. How do we get a value? So we have to get our object, LOV object, get value. That's it.
Okay.
And the get value, I have to pass one parameter called page context. Okay. Now this is how we can get a value from the LOV. We could handle the event as well as you're able to retrieve a value also. Throw new OI exception, selected organization name, plus is nothing but concatenation
Yeah.
information. Okay. So this logic, we are able to handle the LOV as well as we are able to trap the value. And then as
Okay.
of now we're just displaying, but later on we just need to pass this logic to some other business logic, and that's how it has to work.
Okay.
Okay, let us say I'll select vision operations. Got it?
Yeah.
Or maybe you can also explicitly select it. As of now, like whenever you type any value exact, if it exactly matches with the database value, automatically it will not even open the pop-up. It just gets selected. Okay. If it doesn't match, it will show the pop-up automatically.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. 202 and vision services.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now assume that now we are trying to show two values from the LOV. One is business group ID and other one is organization name. But assume that you have a requirement to get the organization ID. Because for the business user, organization name makes sense. For the developer, organization ID makes sense, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah.
So now how do we retrieve the organization ID from the LOV? Because the underlying query, what we have it, one more thing is, let us say, nobody prefers to show organization ID in the page, first of all, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what you
Mm-hmm.
can do is, you can simply either remove from this particular region, or you can just set the render as false here. You have a property called
Okay.
render,
Okay.
and you can just set it as false, because initially, like during development stage, you prefer to show the ID, so that it help you out during your design time, right?
Okay.
Now organization ID, set it to false. Now, but the thing is, we require organization ID to get retrieved when a user selects LOV. So for that
Okay.
one, the other thing is, we don't want to show organization ID in the page, but we still want to retrieve the value from the component. So
Okay. For
that's the major
okay.
thing, right? Because if you show the value anyway, you can just simply get the wrapper API for that one and you can get the value. But the logic
Yeah.
is, we don't want to show the component in the page, but still we want to retrieve the value from the page.
Okay.
Okay. What we do is, on the header region, just create a new item, and the item style is form value. There's something called form value. If you are aware of HTML, there is a concept called input type is equal to hidden,
Okay.
right? So I'll just say
Mm-hmm.
org ID FV. This is my form value ID. Data type is number. So this form value will never be shown in the page. First of all, this form value component will not be shown in the page. This is generally
Mm-hmm.
used for these kind of scenarios. Okay. Now I'll just create a new mapping, and what I will do, I'll select organization ID as my LOV region item, and return item as this form value. Sorry,
Okay.
this one,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Now, how do we retrieve a value from this component then? How do we retrieve?
Same bean, right?
Yeah, we just need to use a bean concept. So what is a bean name? Bean style?
Message LOL, right?
No, no. We want to retrieve a value from where? From the form value.
Form value.
What
Form
is
value.
item
Okay.
style? What is item style?
Form value. Okay.
So then the API name will start with OA followed by form value.
Mm. Okay. Input bean.
This is how we have to remember, because it's very difficult to remember, right? So that's why I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
tell you how can you remember. It always starts with
Okay.
OA followed by your item style followed by bean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With bean dot find index cell recursive, then mention the bean. That's it.
Do we have to cast this? Okay.
Yeah, casting is required because this web bean is a generic
Okay.
object which is having a
Mm-hmm.
generic method. It will always return a generic object. We just need to cast that to our appropriate type. If you observe all the
Okay.
components, let us say if you control click on this one, it is extending one of the component, right? Form
Mm-hmm.
value bean, and this will extend some other one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
It goes on,
Yeah.
right? It's not a small one, it's a very bigger one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we just get a value string org ID f bean det value. So most of the times you have a component called get value, and if you observe get value is just returning an object data type. Get value is returning string. So either way should work,
Mm-hmm.
but always try to
Okay.
prefer something which is having page context inside it. So I try to prefer
Okay.
this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
All right.
run it. Okay, now just say vision operations, right?
Yeah, I'll get it 204.
204.
All right.
Let's say vision services. So now vision services are having like it's having multiple stuff, right? So let us say vision services Japan,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So this is how we can handle the LOV. Okay,
Yep.
and sometimes let us say now here we have this LOV, and there's a chance that you want to execute some other LOV component based on this, like a parent-child kind of LOVs, right? Like a country, state and
Mm-hmm.
city. You'll have dependent LOVs, right? So in those scenarios,
Yeah.
what we have to do is we have to explicitly execute the LOV query. We have to explicitly execute it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Now I'll show you one example. Let us say we would like to execute. We'd like to get whenever user selects an organization, whenever user selects the organization LOV, we want to show the list of items which belong to that particular organization.
Like a dependent value set, right?
Yes, dependent value. Yeah, yeah. In a AOL
Okay.
sense, it's a dependent value set. In our sense, it's a dependent LOV.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So again, we have different approaches which are available here. Okay, but we'll just see one particular approach.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Let us say we'll try to see inventory item ID and segment one. Okay. Now
Mm-hmm.
this is our query. This is our query. So,
Okay.
but basic thing is when you're trying to implement the LOVs, what we do is like generally we used to have a where clause. Then only based on that only you'll display this information, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The concept
Yeah.
is we want to display the want to display the item information LOV. Okay, and but we want to consider the organization ID as an input. We want to consider
Okay.
organization ID as an input. So let's see that how do we implement.
Parameterized Vivo.
We should not take parameterized vivo. That's the first thing here. In the LOV,
Okay.
what we have to do is we have to attach the where clause dynamically. We should not have the parameterized vivo. That will not work here in this sense.
Okay.
Okay. So now click on new view object. So item LOV vivo.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just mention the plain query here because as per this query, it will return all the data. But what we do is dynamically we have to assign the where clause for this one. Nothing but kind of a
Yeah.
lexical binding in the reports. But we doesn't need to mention anything ampersand here. Okay.
Okay.
Finish. Assign the vivo to the AM. Okay. Now the thing is,
Mhm.
first of all, we can implement the page time being and we can implement that component. So here in the header region, I'll select new item, change the item style to
Style text. Yeah.
message hello input.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll just say item number LOV ID, select item number. Okay. Now here again the same concept. We just need to create a region using a wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now LOV mapping. We have to create a mapping between segment 1 and then item number LOV ID. So it shows
Yeah.
large number of things. We have to select the appropriate one. So that's the reason to identify our component is LOV. That's the reason we always suffix the component with LOV ID so that we can easily identify that is a LOV component.
Okay.
And make the component search allowed as to true. And here also search allowed as to true. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we have this component, but if you try to execute, what happens? This item number will show all the LOV items, irrespective of the organization, isn't it? We can try stream
Yeah.
first. Initially, we can just see that the independent LOV is working fine or not.
Okay.
I'll just say Vision Services Japan, and you can just see whether what happens here. Click on this component. It's showing all the items. I'll select this one. It should show F1 2000, right? Independent way it is working fine. Now what we require is we want to show the data based on the specific organization ID, because in our case, if you observe, the organization ID was maybe 917 or something, right?
Yeah.
Let us say if I select Vision Operations, it should be 204. Yeah. So now when I click on this one, it has to show the item belonging to 204. That is expectation. Okay.
Okay.
So let's see that. And also let us say I prefer to show organization ID here. Let us say during development purpose, assume that you have, you have to you have to have a clarity, right? Okay, the items which are showing belongs to a specific organization or not. So what we can do here in the SQL statement, I'll just show organization ID also.
Okay.
Organization ID. So I'll just click on apply. It has to generate the new attribute. If it is not generated, we have to check it again. Okay. Always whenever you modify the query, check the attributes. Now we added the attribute. Now what we do? Go to the LOB sample, and here right click on this region, click on edit region, and click on view attributes. Now select the new one. Okay. Yeah. Now it will show the organization ID. But the first thing is like here on the load, like whenever you are running the page, by default it should not show any data in the LOB. That's a basic thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And whenever it loads the data, it has to show a different one. So what we do is for both of them, for both the things, I'll write a single method. Okay. Public void initialize item LOV ID, item LOV vivo. So I'll just say org ID. As of now I'm considering org ID is str only, string only. Okay. Clear cache. Set where clause. Vivo.set where clause. I'll just mention organization ID is equal to this one.
Okay.
Now we are explicitly executing the LOV query. Generally the expectation is we never execute the LOV query explicitly, but whenever you want to bind something, then you have to explicitly execute it.
Okay.
Okay, this is one of the way of binding. There are different approaches also, but this is one of the approach. Now this method we will call from the PR as well as PFR, both the places. So in the PR, what we do? So am dot item LOV vivo. So I'll just pass a dummy one, because during load, what is the thing I want? Like we just want to execute without passing any data, right? Nothing, but we don't want to show any data. The basic thing is.
Yeah.
Okay. Or we would have enabled and disabled also. We simply can disable the component during load, and we can enable the component when a user raises an event. Either way we can do it. Okay. But as of now, I'll just go with this approach. So in the PFR, what I will do? In the PFR, once I have the information, I'll just need to pass this org ID here.
Yeah.
I'll just pass org ID like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see how this works. Right, if you just see the item LOV, it should not show any data.
Yeah, it should be empty. Okay.
Right, it says no items found.
Yeah.
We are able to execute, but it will not show any data. Okay. Now let us say I will select vision operations. Now see the difference here. Try to select the item number. It has to show the data of the 204.
Yeah. Okay.
204. That's the
Yeah.
reason I enable this one.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now let us say you select some other one. Vision Services Japan. Vision Services Japan. And see now what happens. Right. Now it has to show the org ID of items of org ID 917.
Mm-hmm.
If at all, if they have items.
Yeah.
Right. So this is how we can implement the dependent LOV. So the
Okay.
basic thing is never bind the LOV query. That's a basic funda you have to remember.
Okay. Okay.
You have to just append the where clause at runtime only. That is the only option available here. If at all, if you want to dynamically bind the where clause for the LOV.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah.
see, earlier yesterday we did search page, right?
Hmm.
In that also we entered some org ID, and then when we clicked on the button, we got the result set, right?
Hmm.
There we have, there also we can do the same thing where we can bind that at runtime and not initially.
Yeah, we can
Where
do this. Yes, of course, we can do the same thing. Like the way we just the way I added the where clause, right? This is how we can add up the where clause. The last time, yeah, we are binding we are binding the parameter like this, right? We are binding the parameter like
yeah,
this. Instead of this one, you can
yeah,
also follow this approach. See, the basic thing is, if at all, if you know the bind parameters during design time, that's the best thing. If you don't know the bind
mhm,
parameters during design time, then you don't have any other option. You just need to bind them at runtime.
runtime. Okay,
See,
okay,
generally in the
okay,
reports also, like while designing the report, if at all, if you're not aware of the reports and if it is so complex, you prefer to bind them using lexical. Or else if everything, if it is straightforward, you simply just have the normal binding,
okay,
right?
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
we generally like, yeah, most of the times we prefer to have the dynamic binding. The reason is, let us say if you're designing a search page, you're having five
mhm,
items, okay? You're having five items. And in that, like some of them are mandatory and some of them are not mandatory, right?
mhm,
So either you can use the envelope approach or either you can, and yeah, other thing is like sometimes you want to have them as and sometimes you want to make them as or. Then you have to go
okay,
with the dynamic binding only.
okay, okay, yeah, okay,
Okay.
yeah,
So other thing what we have is pop list. So the pop list,
mhm,
it is, it is almost similar. We have to follow the similar approach, but this particular total component is quite different. So we'll have a Vivo and then you'll have a query, right? So
mhm,
now what we do is, let us say, we'll try to design a query on this one, like maybe FND currencies. Okay, this is my query. And now I'll just go with currency code and currency name. Okay,
mhm,
order by 2. So here we have to create a package. Sorry, I mean to say like a Vivo component, and this should be in a different package structure again. I'll click on my project, click on new, ADF business component and view object. Okay, click on next. And here the thing is, it has to be part of a different package structure.
pop
Poplist
list,
dot server
okay,
fnd currency pop view.
okay,
Okay, and again same thing, read only access, mention the component, finish, assign the viewer to the aim.
okay,
Now create a new OA component page, pop list sample page. Okay,
okay,
set the default properties. Okay, now just have the region. Under the region, you'll just have an item. Now, this item style is message choice. It is not message pop list. The component name is message choice. Okay.
Okay.
So this is quite a different thing. Package texture, we call it as pop list, but the item style is we call it as message choice. Okay. And change on to currency pop ID. Now here, if you see, it doesn't have any properties under it. We just need to set the properties at this level only. Let's see one by one. So first thing is select currency, and now we have some properties at the level pick list stuff. Can you see? Pick list.
Yeah.
These properties we have to set it. So the concept here is when you run this particular component, it has to show the set of values in the drop down, isn't it? So now we have to mention from which particular Vivo component I have to retrieve the values. That's what it means. So now what is our Vivo instance of the pick list? F&D currencies pop Vivo, isn't it? This is a Vivo instance of the pick list.
Yeah.
So pick list view instance. Sorry, view instance, yeah. And what is a display attribute and value attribute? So if you're working on drop down, it shows us the flexibility, you know, like what value you want to show to the user and what value you want to retrieve in the background.
Okay.
This is not available in the LOV. So here we have two values, right? One is currency code and another one is currency name. So currency code we want to get from backend, and currency name we want to show to the business user. That's what we want to do it.
Okay.
Display attribute is currency name. We have to type it manually. You don't have any selection here. We have to type it. Currency code. Okay. Currency name and currency code. Now try to run the page, and now you can observe the result. Right? It shows currency name, right? And also you can observe that there's one empty row. This empty row also. So this particular one you can also remove it. There's something called add blank row that you can also remove it. There's something called add blank row, or maybe blank. Sorry, where are we? Blank row allowed. You have a property called blank row allowed somewhere.
Add blank value. Is it value?
Yeah.
Last one.
If it is true, it will show blank row. If it is false, it will not show blank value. Okay. Now the basic thing what we want to do is like, yeah, we could display the values, but how do we handle the information, right? How do we get the currency name or currency code? Nothing but how do you trap the event? For this one, we have to go with our, the client action approach. Click on client action, fire action, and just mention event name. I'll just say currency event. Okay. We just need to follow the event approach which we discussed earlier also, right?
Yeah.
Same.
Icons. Okay.
Yeah, the same thing. Okay. Now comes the important part. So we are able to handle the event, that's fine, but how do you get a value? How do you get the currency code and currency name? That's the next thing, right?
Webbean?
Yeah, we have to use Webbean. So the bean will start with OA, followed by message choice.
Message choice, okay.
Okay. Now we need to get two values, right? We have to get two values from this one only. So I'll just say currency code str. Another one is currency name str. We have to get these two values. So for this one, currency pop id bean dot get selected, get selection value, okay, that means
Okay.
currency code.
Page context. Okay.
Same thing again, currency pop id bean dot get selection text, this means currency name.
Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
yeah. Now let's see. Okay, now
Yeah.
let's say I'll select Argentine peso. Something is wrong, right? So it is not displaying the information. So the basic thing is like, how can you debug? Let us say it is not handling this one. So it's nothing but it is not entering at this level, right? That's the thing. So just check it
Mhm.
out. This name is correct or not? The event name, what I mentioned in the page, as well as what we are trying to write the code for it, are correct or not?
Currency.
Can you see?
ENC
Yeah,
currency.
RR, right? The
The
spelling RR.
RR.
That's a mistake.
RR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. These things
Mhm.
happens. Now rerun the page and let's see. Right?
Yeah.
Currency
Okay.
name and currency code. And let us, if
Mhm.
you want to implement the dependent dropdown, the same thing. Don't apply the where clause. Just apply the where
Mhm.
clause at runtime. Don't have any,
Yeah.
don't have binder parameter. Just apply the where clause at runtime. So let us say we would like to implement. I mean, like this one. What we can do is, let us say we would like to show all the ledgers which are having the same currency. I mean to say, based on the currency what we select in the upper one, we just
Mhm.
want to show the ledger name. Name ledger underscore name. Okay. Where
Mhm.
currency code. Let us say maybe USD. Right. This is what we'd like to show. So I'll just create
Okay.
a drop down for this one. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'll just take 5 more minutes. Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
New view object, ledger, pop lists, pop vivo,
Mhm.
read only access, finish, assign the vivo to the AM, pop list server, ledger pop vivo, right? This is our name.
Mhm.
And what is the other one? This is having only one column if you observe, right? We are having only one
Mhm.
column. Wonderly, I mentioned only one column. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So pop list sample, new item, message choice, ledger pop name ID or something. Now
Mhm.
here pick list view instance, I'll mention this one, and display attribute, ledger name, and what is the value attribute? If you don't have the other column, just mention it as same. Okay, but we should not leave it,
Okay.
else it will not work. Okay, select ledger.
Okay.
Now what we require, the same concept applies here also. So we'll just have one logic like this, which is similar to the one which we did earlier, right?
Mhm. Binding. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So in it, ledger pop vivo, I'll just say
Mhm.
currency code str.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
And this method, so in the process request here, in the process request also I'll just call with some dummy method am dot init ledger. I'll just say some dummy value.
-1. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is not the correct way actually, because you're unnecessarily executing it, right? That also we can stop it, but as of now we don't know the spell logic. That's the reason I'm not implementing that. Okay. So I need to
Okay.
pass
Yeah.
currency code here. I need to pass currency code, right? Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, we got some exception. It says,
Okay.
yeah, the problem is, what is the problem?
So it's not character to number conversion or
Yeah,
something, right?
yeah, not exactly number conversion stuff, but when you're appending any of the character, that has to be in a single quotes. Now, if you
Quotes.
try to run it, it will not work, right? The same issue we are facing there.
Yeah.
So here what we do is, here single quotes, again single quote, sorry,
Double quotes and single quote. Yeah.
this is how we have to solve it.
Okay.
Super. Let's try again. What is telling? First of all, let's try to execute the statement, okay? And then we'll see what is the issue. Currency code. Yeah, spelling is correct only. Okay. What's the issue is, in this particular select query, I need to have that particular column also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the issue. Because we are trying to bind it where clause at runtime, right? So what happens is it will consider the alias query for this one, and then it will bind it. So
Yeah.
unless it is having that column, it cannot identify.
Yeah. And inline view. Okay.
Hmm. Okay. Now see, can you see there is no values here? There are no values here.
Mm-hmm.
Now let us say I'll select United States dollar. I'll just select US dollar. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'll try to
Perfect.
select Indian rupee. I'm not sure whether they have ledger. It should be. I hope. Right? We have it.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is how we can implement a dependent dropdown.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay then.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Thanks. Okay. Thanks. Bye.